Hi and welcome to another video. Now this is a completely different video to my normal genealogy and Genealogy videos. This is my personal story about living with Meniere's disease. It's not medical advice, by the way. And if you're not interested in that, now is probably the time to log out. But this is really for the people who know people with Meniere's disease or people who have Meniere's disease, because it's very rare and most people don't understand it. So I'm going to go through what's happened to me in the last 10 years. And hopefully that will be helpful to some people. So 10 years ago, I was completely blindsided by symptoms I didn't understand. And this journey's been full of challenges, surprises, and learning. And I took a long time to learn stuff. So I hope by sharing my story that others that face disease or have people who know that are facing the disease will feel less isolated or overwhelmed. And if you have any comments about your own experiences, or people that you love's experiences, I'd love to hear them. Just put them in the comments below. Now, where did it start? As I said, it started almost about 10 years ago. I was taking down the Christmas lights, so it was early January, football was still on, and after I'd finished I felt really lightheaded. So I assumed I was just hungry, but eating didn't help. And about an hour later I had a violent vertigo and vomiting. I had to go into the bathroom and I vomited for a good while. And my wife thought I was having a heart attack, called Teledog. Teledog said go to the ER, and we went to the ER, and I was thrown up out of the window as we drove there. Now at the hospital they rehydrated me and diagnosed it as general vertigo. And I didn't know what had happened, to be honest with you. I felt left shaken, with no real explanation of it, and go and see your doctor. So that's how it started. Now my doctor referred me to an ENT after I'd had a few more similar episodes. So probably about 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I finally got to see an ENT. And I was prescribed Meclizine for dizziness, which is also low dose Dramamine, and I'll call that as it is as we go through there, and Ondansetron for nausea during the attacks, and I'll put those drugs down here, but that's not my recommendation, that's just what I was prescribed. And the ENT said to me, there's no diagnosis or test for Meniere's, we've got to rule everything out first. So I got a full-blown hearing test, I had a CT scan, I had a blood scan to look for all those things. There was nothing else there. So he concluded that it was probably Meniere's disease. And it was pretty disappointing because I left there with, hey, there's no cure, the cause is unknown, just do the best you can almost. So I got on with it really, and then I saw another ENT to get a second opinion, not much better. He suggested trying scopolamine patches as well. So yeah, I had some drugs, but no real advice, quite frankly. So how does my treatment toolbox work? And here's my treatment toolbox, and here's my vomit bags that I take. And so I've got Meclizine, low dose Dramamine, if you like, scopolamine patches, and Ondansetron into a routine that I used all the time. So my personal approach was, as I got lightheaded, I'd take the low dose Dramamine. And if the lightheadedness didn't go away or it started getting worse, I'd then put a patch on behind my ear. That's where the scopolamine patches go. And then if that was still progressing, getting worse, I'd take an Ondansetron and put it under my tongue typically. Now, that would avoid me getting, I would say, 80% of full-blown attacks. So I'd stay dizzy, I'd stay lightheaded, but it wouldn't go into a full-blown attack where, as you can see, lying on the ground, throwing up into a bucket for 2 or 3 hours. So I created these rescue packs for me. It's written on the front what to do with them. It's got the patches, it's got the other drugs in there. I've labelled the little boxes here, and in there goes a vomit bag. And I have one at home, I have one in my truck, and I have one in my backpack to go with me. So I have those to give me a source of control in any situation that I can't predict. So that's, I really, create yourself rescue packs, whatever those drugs are, and keep them with you. It will make you feel a little bit better about it. Now, the everyday impact of Meniere's it can be terrible. And the first step I tried to do was to try and predict when it was going to happen. So I noticed that the attacks were often preceded by stuffy ears, which is classic, and I said like a lightheaded feeling, which was kind of feeling you have when you've not eaten for a while. So that really kind of comes on over time. Now, there's lots of theories about what triggers Meniere's. Salt, caffeine, alcohol, chocolate, soda, and I've gone to no salt, didn't work. Obviously, low salt is better. I have coffee now and again. Here's my coffee I'm having now. I have caffeine-free coffee. I got used to that. Regular alcohol didn't cause any difference. Chocolate, soda, no pattern. We didn't come with a trigger. The seasons seem to play a role. At this time, I was living in Pennsylvania, and late winter, January, February, and early spring, it was usually worse. So even though the attacks felt completely random, we felt that there may be some kind of allergy there, but nothing else that we could come to grips with that was causing these things. And meanwhile, my left ear was declining. Every time I had a test, it would get slightly worse. And as my hearing got worse, my tinnitus became worse. So the tinnitus got worse as the hearing got worse. And tinnitus is a whole different thing that we're going to have to deal with as part of Meniere's. So talking about the attacks, when the meds didn't work, the attacks were severe and I'd end up on the floor. And I'd vomit hard for hours, even when there was nothing left to vomit. And the good thing about having Meniere's, I guess, is that if you've got family around you, they do get used to it. It doesn't, the first couple of attacks are really, really bad, really, really scary, but then you realize there's a path out of it. So my wife would bring me a yoga mat, a blanket and water. I couldn't move, she'd bring me a pillow and I stayed exactly where I was. Now, after the vomiting, the dizziness was still there. After maybe 2 or 3 hours, I could go and lie down on the sofa or in bed. And then once that dizziness had passed, the snuffiness went, but I'd be wiped out for 2, 3 days, maybe even a week. So there's nothing you really can do once you're in attack other than ride it out. And once you understand what's happening, it becomes less scary. But the scary thing for the attacks, not that the attacks won't kill you, is the attacks seem to happen or could happen in the worst place. One attack hit me while I was driving my wife home from surgery. She was drugged up and she had to take over. I was thrown up out of the window. I couldn't drive. That was terrible. I used to travel for work and happened during a business meeting, and my colleagues hustled me into a hotel and got me into a hotel room. That was fine. I've had attacks in hotel rooms while I've been traveling. Luckily, I had my rescue packs with me and I kept them at my bedside. But I was lucky. I worked from home. When I wasn't traveling, I was working from home, which meant I had a safe environment for the attacks to happen. And as I said earlier, I was lucky as well. I felt my ear getting fold and I felt a lightheadedness. So I probably had an hour to 90 minutes before the whirlwind hit me. And, you know, as I said, if I took the rescue pack, 80% of the time the whirlwind didn't hit me. But I always had a nagging fear, like everybody with Meniere's disease. What if it happens at the wrong time? What if there's nobody with me? What if other people around me panic and call 911? What if I'm on a plane? So it's the anxiety of having an attack in a bad place that most Meniere's sufferers really struggle with, I would guess. So as I said, my hearing now, 10 years on, is almost gone completely on my left side. And as the hearing got worse, the tinnitus got worse too. And my tinnitus started off as a high-pitched tone, then became a little bit more like white noise, and now it's a pulsating rhythm. And I've tried hearing aids, they didn't help me at all. Although some of the people that have Meniere's disease I know have benefited from them, so it's a personal choice. If you're getting hearing aids, just make sure you got a 30-day take-back guarantee. Now, for me, the tinnitus is with me all the time. It's part of my life. I don't fight it anymore. I'm very rarely in quiet places, so I use music or white noise to kind of mask it out, and it works. Now, the problem for me personally is that my hearing in addition to being bad, is distorted. So if I'm in a busy or noisy environment, it's very difficult for me. I have to leave, and so I try and avoid crowded spaces that of a lot of noise, or echoes, that kind of thing, because that's really makes me feel very uncomfortable. So it's strange that I can't hear very well. I've got tinnitus, but background noise really affects me as well. So it's a very strange thing, this tinnitus hearing loss. So one thing, as I said earlier, I've got a genealogy channel, and I guess Meniere's disease, although it's been around for hundreds of years, it's not really part of medical diagnosis, I guess, for a long time. It's been fairly recently. So in my family history, I've had two relatives, a grandfather and a second great grandfather, that were not biologically related, but both fell to their deaths from roofs. And it is possible, or maybe even probable, that they had undiagnosed balance issues like mine. So it might be a coincidence, but once you have Meniere's disease, you start seeing patterns. And yes, my wife strictly forbids me from ever going up a ladder or near a roof, because things happen in freeze, so we've got to really be careful. But although it's not being proven genetically, if you start doing genealogical research, you may come across relatives that have balance or hearing issues that somewhat like Meniere's disease, and it would have been maybe attributed to another cause many, many years ago. Now, that was my journey for almost 10 years. And then in December of 2024, everything changed. At the early December, maybe December of last year, December the 2nd or 3rd, I had a really, really bad attack out of the blue. No hearfulness, no warning signs. My wife had to run out of the room and get a bucket. I mean, it really happened that quickly. But I put it off. It was a one-off. And then the following week, I had two more attacks. And again, back to back, no warning. And I was using my rescue meds. Now, I'd been prescribed anxiety medication earlier. I'd not taken it because it doesn't do a lot for me, frankly, and it makes me a zombie when I take it. But I had to take it. I was getting overwhelmed. I was getting attacks, multiple attacks a day. And these meds, now I was taking the Dramamine, the Scopolamine patches, the Valium, all together. I was also a zombie, and it dulled me completely. I kind of lost control for a little while. And I became housebound, terrified of having attacks if I went out. And I became in almost a spiral. And one day, I think we got to January by now, I had 3 attacks back to back. I had absolutely nothing left. I was dehydrated. My wife called 911, and we had to go to the hospital because I was totally overwhelmed. And I think because I got used to Meniere's over 10 years, I was still trying to fight it on my own. And the EI visit made me realize I needed better long-term care. And this is something that I'd not done before. I'd really not driven my self-diagnosis or the diagnosis to find real care. So through Meniere's Facebook group, and I'll put a link, this Meniere's Facebook group has been a lifesaver to me and many other people. We swap advice and we swap candid theories about what's happening. But anyway, through the group, I found a recommended ENT practice here in Tampa, and they specialize from their website from Meniere's disease, and things completely changed as soon as I walked through the door, because as I met the receptionist, they asked me the kind of questions you understand that are related to Meniere's disease. The nurses and the doctors, everybody knew about Meniere's disease, and that was a real revelation to me. And I should have done this many, many years ago. So we set off a new plan for me. The doctor was fabulous. He went through all my symptoms. He put me on an increased diuretic to reduce my inner ear pressure. And one of the newer theories, was to put me on antiviral medication, because there was some thought that this antiviral medication, there was some kind of virus in the body that was causing this new wave of triggers that I was dealing with. And his idea was to suppress it rather than to cure it. So this attack slowly began to subside. It wasn't an instant fix by any means. I went home and had a couple more attacks that week, maybe 3. But what was happening now is that the rescue meds seemed to be making a difference, and the full-blown attacks kind of got less and less and less. And then the dizzy spells started to get less and less. So instead of feeling dizzy for 6-7 hours, I felt dizzy for 3 hours, and then 2 hours, and then I could go and sit outside for half an hour and the dizziness spell passed. Now, I've been with Meniere's long enough to realize that this could just be Meniere's fooling me. It could be a remission. It could be have nothing to do with the drugs whatsoever. But at least I've got the care. I can go back to the doctor and say, hey, it didn't work. And he's got a whole plan for me. If this doesn't work, we'll do this. If this doesn't work, we'll do that. So I finally have a path forward, not just endless reaction to what's happening. And best of all, I have a doctor who's ready with options if things get worse. So what are the lessons I've learned from having Meniere's for 10 years and going through all these different things? Don't settle. I settled. I went, my own personal doctor didn't know anything about Meniere's diseases, and my ENTs that I met were either trying to sell me hearing aids, to be honest, or were, hey, there's no cure, there's nothing you can do, you got to live with it. So find yourself a doctor that understands Meniere's disease. Then the rescue packs, just having rescue packs around all over the place makes you feel better. And believe me, once you understand what you can take to help lessen the symptoms, it will really help you emotionally, knowing that there's something around. And then for me, I've told everybody, and this is why I feel comfortable about doing this video, I've told everybody I have Meniere's. People I work with, the volunteer group I work with now, my family, everybody knows about it, so they know how to react. And I actually got a Meniere's bracelet. I don't have it on now, but I have a Meniere's bracelet. So everybody I come in contact with will know that if I'm having an episode, what it's all about. The Facebook page, and again, I'll put a link down here, is where we all go for help and advice, or even just a vent about this terrible disease. Now, it offers a community and shared advice. None of this is medical advice. You need to get it from your doctor or your ENT specialist. And everybody's Meniere's disease experience is totally different. So you've got to trust your own journey and not the checklist that come up with. So how do I reflect on my 10-year journey? Over time, you begin to recognize your Meniere's monster, and that's what I call it. And my monster's changed, but I'll now understand it a little bit more. And once you know you have a Meniere's monster, you've got to recognize how it behaves. You may not know the triggers, but you'll understand how it behaves with you. And then you've got to work hard not to let it change your life in any way other than when you're having an attack. So it can be scary thinking about having an attack. It can be scary going out places. Don't let it. It's not going to kill you. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be messy, but it's not going to kill you, and you've got to get on with life. And you can't control the disease. You've got to control how you prepare and respond to the attacks. And because I told everybody, I have support from my wife, my friends, my family, and the community, and that's been everything. So as I've been through this second part of my journey where everything's changed, I had to bring back my life to a new normal. And if you're on this journey too, you've got to know that you're not alone and you can live around it. So anyway, I hope that's been helpful. It's just one journey for Meniere's. Again, if you've got any comments or thoughts, please put them in the comments below. I'll put all the links to the various drugs I've talked about and for the Facebook page. And I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you can manage your Meniere's in a way that makes you feel very positive.